Josh Todd from Buckcherry, and now Josh Todd and the Conflict is my guest today on Radio Chatter. The new record, Year of the Tiger, drops on September 15th with Josh Todd and the Conflict. The guys from Buckcherry are still touring with a few lineup changes, of course. We talk about that. His love of boxing, his love of go-karts and racing, we talk about that, as well as the death of Chester Bennington and the personal story on how suicide has affected his life, and a ton more today on Radio Chatter.
T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 4, 3, 2, 1, and liftoff.
This is Radio Chatter with WRIF's own Meltdown.
We're on quite a roll here on the Radio Chatter podcast. If you get a chance, check out my last one with none other than Y2J, Chris Jericho, talking about his band Fozzy, talking about Canadian rock and roll, his podcast, his book that's coming out. We talk about everything pretty much with the exception of wrestling. I think I asked him at the end when he's coming back to the ring or something like that. So anyhow, that was the last podcast. Got a lot of great numbers on that one. James Hetfield from Metallica and Volbeat, Michael from Volbeat, the guys from Avenged Sevenfold. Before that, Tom Kiefer, some great podcasts recently. And I've got some good ones coming up as well. A legendary performer coming up later on this week, which I'll tell you about in the next podcast. And I also talk with Rob and Ray from the band Spread Eagle. I don't know if you remember those guys from back in the early 1990s. They put out a debut record in 1990, one of my favorites of the decade, which was just gritty and down to earth and just had New York City written all over it. I mean, these guys are from the depths of New York City. And then what happened was their second record came out, and you might remember this thing called grunge was really starting to pick up some steam. And we talk about what happened with that second record and pretty much the demise of Spread Eagle, who are now back together again, at least with Rob and Ray and a couple other different players, and going out on tour and doing some different things. And who knows, maybe even some new music in the future. Well, I'll tell you what, that podcast is coming up in the very near future. In the meantime, today it's Josh Todd. He's got Josh Todd and the Conflict. The new record drops on September 15th. Called Year of the Tiger. Had a chance to check it out, and I talk about it with my conversation with Josh, which, by the way, was supposed to take place last week, but due to some phone issues here at the radio station, it happened this week. So I started off the conversation by apologizing to him. First of all, I have to apologize. I think last week we had there was a phone issue over here, so I'm sorry about that, but we're connected now, so...
Yeah, no worries.
Good to hear your voice. You got Josh Todd and the Conflict coming out on September 15th, and let's talk about that right off the get-go here. I've had a chance to listen to some of the tracks. I saw you guys play live about a month ago. And first of all, the name The Conflict, I was going to ask you about that, but then I heard the song, and some of these songs, like Good Enough and Rain and whatnot, seem like they're somewhat autobiographical, I should say. It's like when somebody passes away, you go back and look at their songs, you go, oh, well, there's, this, and now, there was trouble with Buckcherry and stuff, and now you put out this record with some of these songs. Talk about that a little bit.
I mean, definitely, that's part of, you can figure out a lot of the stuff I was going through all the records because I write all the lyrics and melodies. But yeah, for sure, a big... when everything was kind of going down with BC and everything, and we got off the road, and there was just a lot of stuff there, and that's right when I got the music to the song Fucked Up, and so that's how that all came about. But yeah, Rain and Good Enough, I was just going through a lot of change, and it was all really good change, but some of it was painful, and I just kind of write from the heart, and I just go where the music takes me most of the time.
Now, like I was talking about this song, the Conflict talks about slaying the dragon and like all this stuff, and that's kind of the one that hit me the hardest, I suppose. Looking back on Buckcherry and whatnot. Yeah,
listen. The whole thing is with life. There's conflict. I mean that it's just part of life. It's part of the animal kingdom. It's part of human nature, and there's going to be a lot of stuff every year. I've had to deal with a lot of it in the music industry, and I feel like I've really been. I'm a very hard worker, and I'm very passionate about what I do. So sometimes when when I feel like I've been really dealt with poorly, I get really, I take it really personally, you know. So, but it's good because it comes with good songwriting, and that's all that matters. You know, I really had to hunker down and make the record of my career again, you know, and I just feel like this record, Year of the Tiger, is very, very special.
Now, Year of the Tiger drops, like I said, on September 15th, and people can like pre-order it and the whole thing. So what you're saying is conflict makes for great songs.
You know, sometimes for sure. Yeah. I mean, that's not what you always have to have, but I remember back before 15, you know, there was just a lot of stuff, going on prior to that. And we had been told, so many things, you know, like everything we couldn't do, you know what I mean? So, that makes me frustrated and mad, and it motivates me.
And so then you'll take pen and paper right away. I mean, are you one of these guys that are constantly writing down lyrics, or do you have like a whole box of lyrics you've never used?
Constantly. What I like to do is, first of all, I read a lot, you know, and it's really important for me, as far as like storytelling and lyric writing, and that's what songs are pretty much. And so I read a lot, and every time I like come across a phrase or, you know, just a word or anything, you know, I just accumulate titles. And so I'll have a whole folder where it's just all titles, and I jot it down. And then when it comes down to like songwriting and I start opening up that, can of worms, songs will come to me all different kinds of ways, but sometimes I'll get like music and it'll spark like an emotion in me, and then I'll look at my title list, and I'll see a phrase or, you know, a couple words that I think fit what I'm doing, and then I'll just start writing.
Now, this is kind of a hack question, I suppose, but what's different between this album and a Buckcherry record, or what's the same? I mean, I'm sure you've been asked this a billion times, but like this record, at certain times seems a little bit more vicious. Am I reading too much into it, or no?
No, this record is like back to it's back to my roots. You know, I grew up in Southern California. I was a little punk rock kid. All my records from like 15 to 17 were independent punk rock records. You know, I had a huge collection. I was really into those records because they were very honest and real. They didn't have major labels like taming them down and making them write songs for a radio format and all that. So I really liked those records because I was going through a lot of stuff as a kid, you know, so it was everything to me. It meant a lot to me. So cut to this record, I wanted to get back to my roots. I wanted to have a 4-piece band, and I got Stevie D on the guitar, who he's doing double duty with this and Buckcherry, and then Sean Winchester on the drums, and Greg Cash on the bass, and this band is vicious live. We've only done 3 shows, so we can't wait to like really start touring. And we're about to go do an acoustic performance tomorrow for all of Sony, and we're doing it like old school MTV Unplugged. Like we got a cajon and acoustic bass and guitar, and it's just the songs really translate well acoustically, which is cool. Yeah,
Greg Cash, of course, comes from the band Dorothy. That's kind of he's out of Dorothy now, right? I mean, is that done?
I don't know. You'd have to speak to him. Okay. I don't know if it's totally done, but you know, he was in Dorothy, and Sean Winchester was in Everclear and played with a lot of other bands, Bow Wow Wow, and a lot of old school punk bands. Really good drummer. And they're just really nice people. That's the best part about it. And they're very passionate about their craft and what they do. And that's what means the most to me. Yeah, I saw the one show here in Detroit when you guys played. I can't believe you only played 3 shows, but you've been doing like one-off shows with Buckcherry here and there, right? Yeah, we just been doing fly dates with BC through the summer, and then be waiting for the Conflict record to drop, and so once that drops, we're going to be all Conflict, and it's starting to really heat up right now. So, I mean, you've probably been asked about this before, but what's going to happen to Buckcherry? Is that going to be done then? No, Buckcherry's totally intact. It's like better than it's been in like 3 years. It's got the best players it's ever had in the band, and we've done really great shows. I mean, Buckcherry's been playing with the new lineup since February. So, yeah, you know, the thing is we toured a lot last year, and then there was all this nonsense that I just didn't know was happening, and I had to move on creatively. And, you know, it was always my goal to have two bands, and to be able to like give BC a rest and go tend to my other band, and then go back to BC and tend to that and give the other band a rest. And that's kind of the way I've been wanting to do things for a while now, and it's starting to come full circle.
Now, what made this the time to start those projects, and why couldn't you have done something like this like 10 years ago?
Because BC was kind of on a roll, and we were like so busy, there was no time, you know, and then things have changed dramatically in the music industry since then. So just had to go with the times, and like I like to work. I want to be working. I'm a musician, and that's what I want to do. I want to work year round. So the way it's set up is you just can't do that anymore. You can't just tour and go make a record and tour and go make a record, because you know, the average concert goer goes to like 2 shows a year. So what happens is you start having, you know, the radio festivals are like, oh, we'll take you this year, but not next year. You know what I mean? Because they want to rotate their bands as well, you know, so that people are excited to come to the shows, and I get that. So basically, you need to be diversified, and a lot of rock bands are starting to come to that realization.
Now, do you feel, I don't know, do you feel like that, like you're up for the challenge of starting again at the bottom? I mean, is this something that drives you?
It's a lot of fun, actually. I mean, you know, there's frustrating moments building I just call it like building a house, you know. But I really enjoy building something from the ground up. I've had a lot of fun doing this with Stevie in particular, because I've known him since I was 19, and he's such an amazing player, and we're just great friends, and you know, so it's been a labor of love and a lot of fun. But yes, we have come across a lot of you know, it's always difficult building a company, and that's what a band is. It's a company. So, but everything's starting to get better and better. I can go through like in great detail about all the, you know, kind of obstacles we've come across. But it reminds me a lot of when we were trying to get 15 out. It's like almost identical to that story, so it's bizarre. Yeah,
and that record, if I'm not mistaken, 15 days to record. Is that what happened?
Yeah, 15 days. And, you know, the Conflict record, Year of the Tiger, I recorded all the vocals in 6 days. And we literally were in and out of the studio not even 2 weeks.
Really? Now, is this a studio in Southern California somewhere or something?
Yeah, Eric Kretz, the drummer from Stone Temple Pilots, he's got a really great studio, and he produced it with Stevie D. They co-produced it together, and then Ryan Williams was the engineer who did a lot of the Brendan O'Brien records. And he's amazing, really talented guy, and, you know, it was actually fun making a record again. Yeah, the stuff is kick-ass. I had a chance to listen to the record briefly. I've only heard it like once through, but, man, a lot of the songs are short, they're concise, and they sound angry. Some of them, I shouldn't say a lot of them, but some of them, you know what I'm saying? That's pretty much accurate, right? It's not really that angry of a record. I mean, if you kind of like take like Conflict, Fucked Up, and Tiger, those are like the more aggressive songs. But we got a lot of melodic tunes. Like Push It's really melodic. We got a song called Story of My Life, Good Enough, Rain. You know, it's a lot. It's a very well-rounded record, and it comes across really great live, and there's always going to be aggressive songs on records of mine, for sure. Yeah, I guess I'd use the word angry wrong. Aggressive, we'll just say that. I guess I didn't mean to, like, you know, put you in a bad spot there. So No, that's okay. Yeah, you talked about Eric from Stone Temple Pilots producing this. The last time I saw him was a couple years ago, and he came through with STP, and Chester Bennington was leading the band. What are your thoughts on Chester? Did you know Chester? Well, I did not know Chester. But people who commit suicide, it's a very sensitive subject for me, because that happened with my father, you know, and I'm a kid of that, you know, that it happened when I was 10, and all I think about is, like, these guys had children, you know, and just wasn't a good choice, you know, and it's just an effed up thing that you do to the families, you know, so I don't understand these guys who have a lot going on. They have great careers and hit songs, and so that part of me is like, I don't really have too many emotions about it. I just think about those kids.
Yeah, I didn't realize that about your dad. That's crazy to think, because I've had a few friends do that, and it's like, man, it's a tough road to home. But Chester's
all I know is like what I've dealt with through the years, as far as like that empty hole, and I wouldn't want anybody to go through that, and I just feel like it was a really bad decision. I don't care what the guy was going through. It seemed like he really planned it out, and I think he's got like 4 or 5 kids. That's from what I understand. I don't know.
Yeah, I think I heard 6.
Yeah, so when you commit suicide, all of a sudden there's you don't get any money from any money from life insurance policies. That's gone, and so I don't know what he brings in on the music side of things, but hopefully those kids are taken care of, because they got their whole lives that they gotta have clothes and go to schools and So, and no dad, so it's not a good situation. Yeah.
You got kids yourself?
I do, yeah.
Yeah, so you're probably a great father to them.
I do the best I can.
Yeah.
For sure, Yes.
I hear you. Hey, one time I talked to you a few years back. We'll switch subjects here, and you've been down to Kid Rock's place, and you were talking about this place in Alabama. You guys went hunting or shooting or something down there, and now
I see a lot of his place in the Podunk video. I just heard back from him today, but I reached out to him. Like, I haven't talked to him for a while, and after I saw that video, I reached out and said hello, and he's classic.
That's a classic story. He told me, because I think I talked to him. I texted him. I go, hey, give me something for the guys from Buckcherry. He's like, yeah, man, they came down to my place in Alabama. It's so funny. I didn't realize that was his place. I've never been down there to Alabama. I've been to his places here in Detroit. But he's got that run for Senate. Did you hear about that?
Yeah, I heard about it. I haven't talked to him about it, but that's crazy. That's crazy.
So, hey, go ahead.
For him.
Yeah.
I'm happy for him.
Couple more things here for you. We'll let you loose, Josh. I appreciate the time. When was the last time you went go-karting, did that whole thing?
Man, I had to step away from go-karting for a little bit, because the ones that I raced were really fast, and people were starting to get on me about getting injured and all that. And so then I got really into chassis setup and really wrenching on them, and I really enjoy that. But now I'm about to purchase a slower go-kart, but it's still a lot of fun racing the low 206 engine, the Briggs & Riley engine, which is a really big class. And I did one race this year, and it was a lot of fun. So that's what I'm going to start racing now.
Now, how did you do on that race?
Well, that race, I got to tell you, I'm not making excuses, but I had never been in one. I didn't test it, and I basically just jumped in and got in a race, and I started way in the back, and I think I finished 5th.
Oh, that's good.
No, that's all right, but I need some time in it with the engine.
Now, are you an IndyCar guy or anything like that, or NASCAR or anything?
Love NASCAR. I love all things racing, but my favorite racing right now is MotoGP.
Okay.
I really like MotoGP.
Yeah.
But yeah, NASCAR is amazing. I have a buddy where I bet on all 3 series, Xfinity, Trucks, and Monster, and we have a lot of fun. We do that for the whole season, and then I took Kyle Busch at Indy, and I lost big time because he wrecked with Truex. But
yes, you did.
But I had 2 wins this weekend with in Xfinity with Byron, and who did I pick for Eldora? Oh, I picked Crafton, and I beat Christopher Bell, which was good.
You're betting on stuff in Eldora too?
Yeah,
that's cool. Yeah, there was some nasty wrecks yesterday, and that race took a long time to finish.
Yeah, I know. But it was a good one. Yeah. It was a really good one.
Hey, final thing here for you, Josh. Once again, the record comes out on September 15th with the conflict, Year of the Tiger. You're a boxing fan, right?
Love boxing. There's so many great fights coming up.
Okay. Yeah. Now, I've talked to Michael from Volbeat. Have you ever met him before?
I think I've met him, briefly out on the road, but is he a boxing fan?
He might be the biggest boxing fan I've ever met. He constantly has I've seen him twice this year, and each time he's had his Triple G shirt on.
Oh, okay. I don't know. I'm a pretty big boxing fan, but let's see. What do you got for me? I'll tell you anything boxing.
Well, first of all, like I said, he's a Triple G guy, and that song, he's got that song, Let's Get Ready to Rumble. He's a huge boxing fan. Actually, when they opened up for Metallica, they had the boxing ring ring ropes that go around the front of the stage. So that's what kind of boxing fan he is. But what do you?
I guess he must be more of a fanatic than me then.
Oh, he's a huge fanatic. He said growing up in Denmark that, when he played Madison Square Garden, he couldn't believe it because that's where he watched all the fights with his dad when he was growing up in Denmark. That was like one of his big moments. But anyway, so let's start with the first one here. This McGregor. I just saw a thing with Mike Tyson that says he said that McGregor is going to get killed in a boxing match. What do you think about this one with Mayweather?
Listen, that fight's going to be a joke. But if you're like a boxing fan, before we get to McGregor, let me tell you what the fight of the year could be, and it's coming up real quick. I think it's on the 29th of July. It's going to be Mikey Garcia, Adrian Broner. So if you like boxing, you got to see this fight and it's not even pay-per-view. It's free. So you should check it out. I think it's Showtime or HBO, one of those. But Adrian Broner, Mikey Garcia, that's going to be an amazing fight. As far as like McGregor and Mayweather, I honestly don't even know if Mayweather will get hit. Plus, I really don't even think he'll get hit.
He is pretty elusive.
I think Mayweather will knock McGregor out at some point. I heard McGregor got knocked out in sparring by Brandon Rios.
That's what I heard too. I'm not sure if that's true, but I heard the same thing. Yeah,
I bet it's true because you know what? He's got Paulie Malignaggi over there in his training camp, who basically doesn't even have a right hand. He only has a left hand and doesn't hit very hard, so I'm sure it's true.
Well, it's funny that you say that, what a joke this is going to be, because, Michael called it a circus, he said, of course. But this Triple G fight coming up in
that's
September.
Gonna be amazing.
That's going to be a good one, too, huh? Man.
It's going to be amazing. Let me break this fight down for you, because this is why I think, and listen, I love Canelo Alvarez. Love him.
Right.
He's an amazing fighter. But Triple G, just watching the Alvarez Chavez fight, Chavez really didn't throw many punches at Canelo the whole fight, and Canelo seemed a little gassed after the 6th round. So my thing with Triple G is he's got power in both hands. He comes ready to go. If he has amazing conditioning and really turns it up from 6th round on, he's going to win the fight. He could even knock Canelo out.
Okay. I think that Michael, if I'm not mistaken, said he picked Triple G in 9 rounds. So maybe about the same lines.
That's probably pretty accurate if Triple G does the right fight plan, for sure. But Canelo hits really hard too, and he has a lot of pride, and he's learned a lot about defense since Mayweather. He's really worked on his defense, and he's really a well-rounded fighter, and he's seen a lot of styles and been in a lot of big fights. So that is working, for him as well.
Yeah. Do you watch UFC or anything like that, or no? Just pretty much boxing?
I do, but there's so many guys fighting all the time. It's hard to keep up with the guys. Hold on. Hey, I'm over here. My son is on his scooter, and he's going way too far in front of me. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's all right. No problem.
I love watching UFC, because I'm a fight fan. So when the big fights happen, I watch, but I can't tell you all the names because there's these. It seems like people are fighting in the UFC every weekend,
Right. Yeah. Well, some of them, the big names, obviously, like the Brock Lesnar's and guys like that, and then they got the girls with the Ronda Rouseys, who I've never been a big fan of, to be quite honest with you. But whatever. So.
Yeah, I don't watch too much of the girl stuff, but I really appreciate it because. I've done boxing training for years now, and I've sparred, and I know how prepared you got to be to get in the ring, and how intimidating it can be, and what kind of work you got to put in. And I think those guys are really awesome.
You ever try to get any of your music in these pay-per-views, even with the WWE or with the boxing guys or anything like that?
Yeah, way back in the day, we had a conference call with Don King, right? He called us up. He had a Russian fighter that loved Crazy Bitch and wanted to walk out to Crazy Bitch, and I was like, that's amazing. We should we were trying to set it up so that we could play the song live while he was walking out, and we really tried to, but Don King didn't want to spend any money on production, and so we couldn't do it, but that was going to be really cool. But yeah. I have some friends over at Iron Boy Promotions, which they do they're not really huge, but they do a lot of fights, and they've been putting Year of the Tiger in spin.
That's
cycle
cool.
As far as like boxes coming out.
Yeah, it'd be something to see like Misha Tate walk to the ring with Crazy Bitch playing or something.
Be cool.
Yeah. Well, listen, man, good luck with the record. September 15th, Josh Todd in the conflict with the Year of the Tiger, and we'll be checking out those fights and checking out the record, and we'll see you next time you're here in Detroit.
Yeah. Come out to the live show. Josh
Todd on Radio Chatter here today. Got to thank him for phoning in. Like I said, Year of the Tiger, man. This record's pretty intense. It's in your face. Some of the tracks, you know, I mean, hey, Buckcherry put out some songs that were big hits for those guys that weren't quite as intense, and I feel a little bit of that in this record as well. So, like I said, September 15th, that drops. Thank you guys so much for checking it out. As always, a reminder to give us a rating, give us a review if you get a chance. If you like this, share it with your friends. We always appreciate that. Share it on your social media and the whole thing. And, of course, thank you so much, as always, for listening to Radio Chatter. Hit me up on my social media at Meltdown WRIF, or just float me a tweet. Hit me up with a comment, question, critique. You can even email me, meltdown@WRIF.com. And as always, guys, thank you so much for tuning by. Don't forget, Spread Eagle is coming up. And also, like I said, a legendary performer. I don't want to jinx it, but I'm talking to this person bright and early tomorrow. So hopefully by the end of the week, we'll have that up. Once again, thanks so much for checking out Radio Chatter.